as we enter into the sacred space of listening and receiving, I invite you to join me in this short induction ceremony in order to be fully open, receptive, and aligned with the information that is for your highest good in this conversation today. Begin by closing your eyes and taking a deep breath into the belly. And as you're breathing, bring your awareness into your heart center, making contact with the light in your heart. And find your heart light glowing, growing and expanding out around your chest. And now bring that light of your heart up through your crown center, through the top of the head, extending up all the way above you into central sun, making contact with the heart energy of central sun. And then bring that powerful energy down through the ethers into the crown of your head, down through your body, and into your heart center, expanding and joining with the light in your heart, and continuing down to the base of your spine, extending down all the way down into the center of the earth, making contact with the heart center of Mother Earth. And now bring that nurturing energy up through the layers of the earth, carrying liquid crystal plasma through roots up into the base of your spine, and then spreading into every cell of your body, moving into the heart center, joining with the light from above and joining with the light of your heart, creating a holy trinity of light within you, and then spreading out around you, holding space for your highest good, your highest awakening, and the opening to receive the divine downloads, encodements, activations, and light codes that are perfect for you at this time. Breathe that in deeply into your belly, allowing yourself to expand in this energy and opening to step in to the container of receiving. Welcome to the Alchemy of Ascension, Season 6, Exploring Expanded States of Consciousness. I'm your host, Waxela Sananda, and today I get to introduce you to, I probably don't need to introduce many of you, to Matt Kahn. Welcome, Matt.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Well, it is an honor to get to have you here. I've wanted to have this conversation with you for a while, so I'm just so happy to have you. And, you know, one of the things that I like to do rather than read someone's bio, I like to let you describe a little bit about who you are and your work in your own words.
It's a great question and invitation. My goodness, I feel like every day I wake up and I rediscover who I am all over again. For today, hi, I'm Matt Kahn still, and I have been going through a journey of awakening for the majority of my life. I was born as an empath, which means I'm sensitive to other people's emotions because my emotions are tuning into the emotions of other people. So probably like you and many others, I never knew where my experiences began and other people's experiences ended. I was raised in a very intense emotional environment, making sense of my empathic abilities while going through various awakenings that led me on this journey to not just being an empathic healer, but being an empathic healer who has also gone through various stages of awakening so that I can bridge the gap between the esoteric realms and the journey of awakening. And my healing work is not only to help people heal, but to see healing as a very specific facet in the awakening process, where all of our awakenings are assisting in the global ascension of raising the vibration of this planet and helping to rebirth humanity in a heart-centered expression of consciousness. And it is just my absolute honor to always represent teachings that I channel from the universe with healing energy you can feel that comes through the sound of my words that are always rooted in unconditional love.
Beautiful. Just that alone is like an expansion.
Yes.
So, the theme of the show is about expanded states of consciousness, of being, of, just in all of its different forms. And I know that you have a new book out. It's All for Love and the Transformative Power of Holding Space. And we'll get into that a little bit more. And a documentary that I'm excited to see. But I feel like your work itself is an expanded state.
Yes.
Like when you jump into the world of Matt Kahn, you're kind of diving into an expanded state. And let me just say, when I was first getting that push from the divine to come out, like I was happy behind the scenes. Nobody really knew who I was. That was great. No problem for me. But I was getting that nudge, and it was uncomfortable. I was like, oh, you're sure? Like, who am I to do that? And, all the things that go through your head. And that's when I started, somebody sent me one of your videos and I started listening. And there was this period of time, this is several years ago now, many years ago, where I would listen to your videos when I did the laundry, clean the house. There was just this like Matt Kahn segment of my awakening that I was listening on, and it was really helpful for me to kind of get over myself and that resistance. So I'd just love to open that up for you to talk about anything that comes up for you around expanded states and what that is.
It's a great question, and I'm so glad and honored and privileged and humbled that I got to play a part in your awakening process and you stepping forward. So thank you for that honor and privilege. When we think of expanded states, right, we think of heart expansion. We think of mind expansion. So expansion itself is actually taking us on beyond the parameters of our known self. So it's amazing that you said it helped me get over myself, because that's actually what expansion is. Because the opposite of expansion is just, I know myself, which is an important part of the journey to know ourselves, our strengths, our weaknesses, our tendencies, our reactions, our patterns. It's very important to know that. But there's a certain point where we either soothe and identify our limitations and our framework, or we actually venture beyond it. And so expansion is anything that takes you out of your known reality. And the soul, when it experiences an expansion beyond its known reality, experiences elation. When the ego experiences moving beyond its known reality, it experienced overwhelm, fear, apprehension, a loss of control. And all human beings are actually experiencing this simultaneously. Most people experiencing the latter versus the former, because we've spent more of our earthly lifetime identifying with our egos than getting to know the light of our soul. So the purpose of expansion, whether it's expanding your mind, expanding your heart, and I'm honored to say that the transmission of energy I offer, just as you feel me speak, is already creating that expansion on all those levels. It's helping us to be safe with the unknown, to be excited by the unknown instead of overwhelmed by it, and to actually help our egos integrate and to move back into its home of the light by really getting to know the light of our soul, and to be the love that says, ego, it's okay that you're afraid of the unknown. It's okay that you are afraid of the things you can't control, because the ego believes control, so not to be controlled. So if it cannot control the unknown, it feels controlled by it. And these are the parts of us that really need our unconditional love. And it seems to be previously emphasized that we have to abandon and ditch this part of us so we can get rid of the pain and make more room for pleasure. But in truth, we are actually evolving souls, actually learning what it's like to be angels and spirit guides to our own egos. And we're having the practice of being spirit guides and angels to our own evolving and healing egos, because this planet is a school where angels and spirit guides are trained to become guides for future generations. So we are here to truly love the part of ourselves that is intimidated by the unknown, as well as get to know the parts of ourselves that are excited by the unknown, even if we don't even know what the unknown has in store for us. And so it's a very intense journey. It's a beautiful journey, only made more miraculous by the love we spend time cultivating in our hearts.
Wow, that was so well shared. Thank you. You're the first person that I've heard say so perfectly describe why it's simultaneously so exciting and so terrifying to have like an awakening experience or any profound spiritual experience. It's that, like, it's both at the same time. And the way you said the soul is thrilled or elated while the ego is in fear, that's exactly what happens.
Yes.
And so really, and I know this is so much of what your work is about, it's being able to accept both at the same time, like
100%.
walking the edge of the sword in a sense.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean it's always comfortable. So
I would agree. Sorry to jump in. It was just, what came to me was this idea, this is kind of a funny metaphor, that people and this is, it's an unintentional thing, but people kind of go about the spiritual path. This is a funny way to put it, politically. Like, politically speaking, when we're looking at a political race, we're looking at who gets the popular vote, and we're looking at how many states are voting for one person for a popular vote. And if we have that metaphor for our spiritual journey, what a lot of people do is they have one part of themselves that's elated by the awakening, relieved by the pressure that's been released, and another part that's petrified. The misunderstanding when we go about this politically is we think that all parts of myself have to be on the same page. That there has to be a popular vote, that all parts of me act the same way. And the way people have been trained to approach spirituality is I have to be this like coach to parts of myself and get all parts to act the same way. And what happens is that we don't see ourselves like a beautiful rainbow, that in every human being, this beautiful rainbow represents each color is a different emotional state. Each hue of the rainbow offers us a variety of perspectives, gifts, talents, and abilities. And the weaknesses and the imbalances we find in each emotion is just showing us the relationship we have yet to build with those feelings. And so if we were to turn every color of the rainbow to the same color, there would be no rainbow to behold. So we're not here to act like we're trying to get all of the parts of our bodies on the same position. We're not trying to get everything to act lovingly. Instead, we are the love that is here to embrace the uniqueness and diversity of all parts of ourselves. And the unifying quality is that no matter how differently anger seems from sadness or joy seems from fear, the unifying quality is that I am learning to love them all equally so that I can be a rainbow expression of unity consciousness instead of trying to get everything to be the same color and hue. And what's fascinating is that the more we embrace the diversity and the differences of all our different emotional states, it's in that level of consciousness that we can embrace the diversity of others, whether people look differently than us, act differently than us, or otherwise. And so if we really look at the societal and social benefits of conscious evolution, it's as we come into loving communion, accepting all of our parts in a grander perception of diversity. It's only from that acceptance of diversity within us that love can provide that allows us all to be united in our differences and to live in a world of true peace and tolerance. And really, that's what the Ascension is all about.
Yeah, I just want to soak that in. Oh, so many things come up in that I love that I get to just riff on this. I have like
Totally.
some questions, but I really just want to go with the conversation.
Yeah.
And so I'm just going to go there. And I know a lot of people like me that are Alchemy of Ascension followers
Yes.
have been on a spiritual path for a very long time, are
Yes.
what I would call spiritual adepts. And, they've really done their work, and many of them are very expanded.
Right.
And one of the things that I've bumped up against just in the last couple of years,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like sharing this maybe will open something up for many listening, is I will find myself sort of spontaneously now. I've been a meditator for almost 30 years. So I will get in such an expanded state. This might be in meditation. Sometimes it's when I'm sleeping, but I'll feel myself expanding, feel my heart opening. I'll feel this beautiful, blissful expansion. And I'll be like, oh, I love this. This is amazing. Wow. And then it's like I bump a ceiling. I'm like, oh my God, what if I die?
Totally.
That's really it. That's what I bump up against. Wherever my ceiling of, if you go any farther, you're going to die, that's what brings me back. So let's go there. Like, what do you do? Like, how do I break through that?
Well, I mean, I can tell you what I did in my life, because I got to a certain point where I had the feeling of, if you go any further, you're going to die. And I wanted to know the truth. So I chose death. And what it was death to the known me, to the known parts. Death to the part of me that gripped the side of the shallow end of the pool while fearing the deep end. The death to the part of me that wanted to let go of control, only to let in the goodness, but still wanted to monitor, track, and micromanage to make sure that nothing outside of my control happened. And at a certain point of exploring truth, we need to actually release that, right? We pull the anchor so that the ship can take its voyage on the deep seas of exploration. And so there is a point where we get to a point where we think, if I go any further, I'm going to die. And yet that is the destiny of the ego in such a selfless way, even if the ego is a psychosomatic construct of our own consciousness. The ego is that human part of us that's actually on a human journey. And it's going through such an expansion that in order for it to know itself as the light and truth of all, it has to go through a death. And so we are holding space for the deaths that occur, whether it's the death of relationships we thought we were going to go so much further, the death of the way we thought society was run, the death to the way life used to be a few years ago, whether it's the death of people that we are connected to that now are still connected to us in dimensions we may not be able to see and connect with, and even processing the death of who we no longer are, even when the new us hasn't quite dropped in. And this is the battle cry in every heart that may not know it's processing the death of its ego. It doesn't know it's going through an expansion of consciousness or an awakening. It's just a crying out for the love that reminds us who we are as the deathless, never-born light that is always present to embrace us as the eternal truth we are as we go through this exquisite journey of birth and death and change, until the notion of birth, the anticipation of death, and the perception of change all disappear, and all that remains is the truth of love as one for all. And so death is a part of this, and only love can carry us through this. So even the idea of death, the diagnosis of a terminal illness, is simply turning us back to the love that is truly carrying us through every stage of our journey. And that's my joy, to reacquaint people and connect them to that love, because it's only through love that everything makes sense.
Yeah. That's so beautiful how you presenced. It's like taking the fear of death out and realizing it's just parts of ourselves that we're surrendering control, surrendering the ego, surrendering the need to know. Right. That's a lot.
A lot.
Powerful. And obviously you're still here.
Yes. Well, I'm still here. I keep changing forms and elevating into levels of consciousness, because I'm here on a mission to guide humanity as one of many guides in through this ascension. And, we were going through such a tumultuous change because a few years ago, it was just, the collective's in a place of repression, shutdownness, and avoidance. And we're all on our own individual journeys and we're fielding this. And then we realize, actually, our journeys have been preparing us as anchors of light. As I like to say, this ascension is like a middle school dance, and some of us are the chaperones. And so we've been trained as chaperones, not knowing that was the deal. We're chaperones. This school dance is getting a little intense, and we are now experiencing a world that is going through a collective dark night of the soul experience. And most of the world doesn't even know what that is, or would even have interest if they knew what it was, or would say, what pharmaceutical can I take to make it go away? So we are really in a position of transforming a deeply ingrained mentality of this world. And the only thing that changes the mentality of the world is birthing a new consciousness. And so there's so many of us who have been on such an intense journey for so many years, and it was training ground for holding space for the world to now go through that experience. What I find interesting about this is what it challenges in the empaths and the light workers and the starseeds of this world is, how do we learn to anchor light and to be more present with our experience of what light we're bringing to the planet, and not take on the energies and absorb the densities of others around us? How do we stay in our energy fields? How do we not get pulled into trespassing in other people's fields? How do we feel the light that we're anchoring and not get exhausted or absorbed by the energies around us? And how do we do that in a way that is not rejecting, not judgmental, and not fear-based? The only way to do that is to connect with the love within us, so that we become more aware and entrained with being present with the light that we are giving and the love we are sharing, while also noticing other people's experiencing and their experiences is what our love and light is transmuting. And so this is an incredible training ground that we're going through. It's immensely intense. And yet we're getting to a point where, even though the world looks like it's going backwards, we're just watching the unconsciousness of the planet fight out and exhaust its last bit of defenses. And sooner rather than later, the defenses drop, unconsciousness is exhausted, it surrenders to the truth of love, and love wins without fighting back even once. And this is the journey that we're on. And it's a beautiful one. And there's so much goodness that is being birthed. We just have to become aware of what is actually happening. And it's good news.
Yes, yes. As you're speaking, what I'm hearing too is just that how our individual journey and our collective journey is also, it's the same journey as the planet, the
Right.
journey of the earth, where it's the earth, it's the whole of humanity, and it's the individual, all reflecting aspects of this ascension to each other.
Absolutely. It's as if we are all birthing new versions of ourselves. We all live in different versions of the earth because we all have different timelines we're in. Each of our hearts is its own earth, and reality is a space where all these earths or parallel timelines converge and meet and discuss. And so we're all each on our own timeline. We seem like we're sharing space and we think we're all in the same world, and that's part of the play that we're in. But truly, we're all living in our own earths. And what we're doing in the awakening of consciousness is raising to a common vibration to all of our earths converging and coming together to birth a new collective earth that is in harmony with nature and support with Mother Earth, and allows this planet to be a breeding ground of higher consciousness and not a reflection of past traumas and atrocities. And we are literally changing the paradigm of a planet, and we are doing it together. And this is one of the most incredible missions as beings who are being trained to be angels and spirit guides for future generations. I say it very succinctly, but it's never meant to take away from the gravity of how intense this is, which is why everything I teach is always with love, because it's with respect and honor for the gravity and depth of what we are surviving and what we are doing as a species.
what you just said, I'm a little like, wow, it's so much like I had this experience yesterday, literally
Did
yesterday.
you?
I've been planting mango seeds, and I have a mango tree, and the squirrels keep eating the mangoes like half before they fall. So I've been just getting the mango seeds out, and I was so yesterday I've been like ripping open mango seeds and planting them, but I had this experience where I was working and I just got struck with this intense tiredness. And I'm like, it's the kind of tiredness that I'm like, I know I got to go lay down because nothing else is going to work right now. And then a lightning storm happened, a thunderstorm happened while I was in this really deep, it was 30 minutes, but it seemed like hours. And I saw what you just described. It was the mango seed ripping open, and each person was the outside shell ripping open, which happened during a flash of lightning as a boom and this crackling. Like that's everybody's timeline. And we're each a little embryo, which the mango seed, when it comes out of the shell, looks like a little embryo.
Oh, wow.
And then I saw an image of it being planted and growing, and how we're each sprouting our own timeline, and we're becoming a mango grove of trees. And that's the new earth. And I'm like, this is what he's describing. So I know there's like, when that happens, like there's this deep truth. And I came out of it, and I was like, I knew that I had changed timelines. You know, I knew, and I heard that like crackling and the ripping open, and I knew coming out of that, ooh, something just aligned and things are just more in flow. And I honored that. Look, I'm clearing. I honored that I needed to let something go. There's something that I was bumping up against that I needed, and I did in that. And it's exactly what you're describing. I don't know if this is going to make sense to anyone else, but maybe that sure made sense to me. So thank you.
I love that, by the way. I'm just taking that in. That's such a beautiful, and then okay, this is my thinking. I'm like, wow, that's an amazing reflection. I love the synchronicity of that. I think that. And then as someone who loves to cook for fun, I go, what's she gonna do with her mangoes?
Yeah, well, I freeze them, and my son eats, like, we do this really yummy. Have you ever heard of Yo Nana? It's a machine where you take frozen fruit and you put it in the Yo Nana, and it comes out and it tastes just like ice cream, except it's just frozen fruit. It's wonderful.
I'm gonna have to get a Yo Nana. First of all, I'm gonna buy a Yo Nana online because I love cooking. Second of all, just my own little culinary thing, because cooking is one of my greatest artistic passions. One of the things I did last weekend that I thought was amazing is I pickled mango.
Oh, really?
And you quick pickle it. And I put it as a garnish, like on Indian food or as a condiment, because I'm really into cooking, and pickling it and bringing up the acidity and highlighting the sweetness. It's outrageous. But I think the Yo Nana is in my future. So in the name of global ascension, Yo Nana.
Yo Nana. Yes. Okay, so moving forward, who knew? You never know where these are going to go, right?
You never know.
You talk a lot about holding space, and holding space is also part of the title of your most recent book. And I had someone ask me the other day, what does holding space mean? What is that? I'd love to ask you that question.
It's a great question. It's a common question. If we think of it too literally, like, how do you hold space? Even though reality is the space that holds our forms together. But the truth of what that statement is holding space is when we are connecting from such a depth of awareness. We simply are aware that we are on a healing journey, whether we're aware of it or not. Other people are on a healing journey, whether they know it or not. It's common for the ego to have a false belief that says, I'm only experiencing things I'm aware of and things I've decided are going to happen, right? Which is a very lovely idea, if only that were true. So every single person is in an awakening of consciousness, whether they know it, will know it this lifetime, or are becoming more aware of it. And so when we hold space, we're connecting with people, whether as lovers, whether as exes, whether as we're co-parenting, whether as store clerks, relatives, strangers, whatever. And we are aware that people's emotional state, perceptions of reality, responses or reactions are coming from where they're at in their healing journey, how aware or unaware they are of it, And they are in our realities to help us practice offering compassion and love, and of course, discernment and boundaries when necessary, because we're practicing through the laws of unity consciousness. The more compassion and love I give to others with appropriate boundaries, the more love and consciousness and compassion I'm cultivating in myself. And of course, the more I love and have compassion for myself, the more I can see that people acting out of character is just the pains and is just the reactions and defenses of people not fully aware of the experiences they're going through, or even if they are aware of it, how overwhelmed they are by the intensity of it. So truly holding space is when we're not just occupied in the perception of our awareness, we're not just lost in the fundamental beliefs of our preferences and desires. We're not perceiving people as, if you're not a part of the solution, you're part of the problem. We're actually meeting people in a state of humility and saying, how you're treating me is not based on my worthiness, but it's based on the pain that you carry. And it's never to be justified to keep ourselves in toxic environments and to enable people to abuse us. But it's a way for us to see that all of us are here growing and evolving. And if we can hold space for the pains being healed and the traumas being worked out in all of us, we can come from a perspective where the love and compassion we cultivate in ourselves is going to fulfill us in every way, so that people can play the real role they're here to play, which is whatever love and kindness they give us is just extra when we are learning how to be such divine space holders.
Mm. Yeah, it feels like the ability to suspend judgment,
yes,
while just surrendering and allowing someone to be where they are, not needing to fix it, not needing to change it, not needing to correct them, but just to allow and be present, really be present in love.
Absolutely. Something I want to share with you that just came up, that actually I download, because I download teachings all day. I go through dimensional jumps you talked about. It's just a regular part of my life. I was walking to get a latte this morning. I was thinking about judgment, and I was thinking about the fact that the word judgment can mean, the label and the rejection and the heresy that we project onto people in response to either how they're behaving or how their behavior is affecting us. And I was also thinking of the fact that the word judgment, like if I think I'm driving a car and I hit the curb, I misjudged it. I miscalculated it. And that really what judgment is a miscalculation of our perception, that we are so internalizing other people's behavior as if it's an attack towards us, because their judgments are reminding us of judgments of our past or judgments we've passed on to ourselves, that we misjudge, we miscalculate seeing the divinity growing like the mango seed inside of them, like you said so beautifully. And we miscalculate the ability to connect heart to heart because we get pulled into a state of division because we don't feel safe. So the primary rule of space holding is, how can I hold space for myself to always feel safe within my experience? For when I am safe in my own experience, I don't miscalculate the actions of others, take on their energy of judgment, then reflect it back to them to create more pain for all of us to heal and endure and process. So really, judgment is a miscalculation. And as we find safety in ourselves by holding space for ourselves, by learning to face the judgment in ourselves, by learning to bring compassion to ourselves, only what we gift ourselves with can we practice giving to others. And in that space of unity consciousness, there's no miscalculation, and therefore there's no judgment to overcome. It's simply love feeling safe to shine at full capacity.
Love feeling safe to shine at full capacity.
That's right.
Yes, that's that's it. Ooh, it's so good. As you're speaking, it's funny because there's also, like, as an interviewer, the safety method of interviewing is to have these these questions lined up, and I can look at my page and try not to be too obvious about it and then read the question. And you're just like way too good to go with pre-designed questions. It's too much opportunity in every single thing that you say. So something that keeps coming up, I wasn't going to ask it, but I feel like it will, because it's recurring thought in my mind as you're speaking. Yeah. So in the beginning, you spoke about being an empath, and like what I've noticed with empaths, they're either kind of like this, we're spongy, right? I was one too, like we're spongy. And so we're taking so much on, and they're the people that are just, they continue to be spongy and just soak it all up and kind of never really know what's theirs and what's not theirs and all that. And then they're the people like myself. I was an empath, and I knew, well, I didn't know I was an empath at a young age. I just knew at a young age that like, I don't want your stuff. Like, keep your stuff off of me. So what I did as coping mechanism, I put up walls and boundaries, so like armor, nobody's getting through this. And I closed down my heart. And still now at entering into my 50s here, I am finding layers upon layers of this armor that I've put around myself to protect myself from feeling too much, from experiencing other people's stuff, right?
That's right.
And so any insights you have on that?
Yeah, and I'll start with one sentence that came to me last night spontaneously in a conversation I had with someone. And what I said was, what we think is protecting us is imprisoning us. We put up walls to protect us from other people's energy. And we are imprisoning ourselves in a perception of one body, forgetting that we are the consciousness of all bodies. But what happens when we're an empath is that our egos, instead of identifying with one person's experience and in response or relationship with others, the empathic ego identifies with all bodies. It goes, oh, unity consciousness, I'm the one in all, so therefore everyone's trauma is my trauma. What's true is I am the light in all. I am not the ego of all. I am not the history of all. I am not the conditionings of all, right? The old teaching of, oh, someone outside of me is acting a certain way. That's a mirror for something inside of me. That's actually not the teaching. The teaching is, I am a mirror reflecting the light of someone else's consciousness. And what they're reflecting to me is what is in the way of them knowing and receiving that consciousness. So the mirror teaching is a little backwards. So what happens is we put up these walls. We don't realize that what is protecting us is imprisoning us. And it's imprisoning us from realizing that the light in all beings is reflecting to us the light that we are. And the more we wake up, the light that we reflect is helping to liberate other people from their prisons of separation. And it really, and I say this because I've lived as a very psychically open empath, and I've taken my entire life to study this, and I've only understood this based on my own experiences and connections with the universe. I didn't know what protection was. I never knew it existed. And by the time I learned about it in this field, I had already realized why I wasn't protecting myself. And in the beginning, it's very confusing, it's very overwhelming and very exhausting. But what really empaths are doing when they're not protected is they're building up psychic endurance. Because what allows you to transmute someone's energy versus to be overwhelmed by it is how much endurance you've built up psychically. Just like muscles we train, endurance you build up by doing cardiovascular training. If you spend a lot of time in the kitchen, all of a sudden overwhelm becomes ease. So we're building up our psychic muscles so that our light is stronger than the intensity of other people's traumas and discord. And that's when empathing reverses. And so part of my gift that I offer to people is how to deconstruct the walls and how to find safety and clarity without walls, so to be inspired and versus overwhelmed. But this is the work at hand right now, the deconstruction of walls that imprisoned us, even though they promised to protect us.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like it's something I've been doing for a lot of years, and yet I'll still find those layers. Yes. And I think the first step is probably just the willingness to acknowledge, oh, wow, there's something here that's limiting me.
Sure. And something that is giving me permission to contract and close down, which is our right to do that. But when we contract and close down, we're going to nourish ourselves with our most painful perceptions of awareness. We're going to be trying to nourish ourselves with the parts of ourselves that only live in perpetual states of hunger. So if we really want to be nourished, if we really want to heal, if we really want to get to the other side of this confusing, energetically exhausting phenomenon of empathing, we have to build up our psychic endurance. And people would say, well, how do I do that? Well, every day of your life being exposed to the energies of the world and learning how to move forward, raising your children, furthering your careers, doing your inner spiritual work, making time to love yourself, all of this is a part of building those psychic muscles. So life on this planet is already that endurance practice. We just have to become aware that everything already is this process, and that we become more of an active part of the process when we say, how can I love the parts of me that are having a hard time? Because when I love myself, I am now on the same side of a universe that only loves me and only knows me as the love within it. So when we love ourselves, we are on the same side of the universe, which means we are in a state of unity consciousness, prepared to meet other people, no matter how many separations or divisions lurk within them. And we take this slowly, mindfully, and lovingly.
Yes. Yeah. Love that.
Yeah.
So, Matt, you have a documentary out that so far I've only seen the intro, what do you call it? The trailer?
Trailer, yeah.
I cried. Like it was just so moving. Tell us about that, and how do people get that? How do people get to see it?
It's a great question. When we did this documentary, because I've done healing work for many years. I've been doing intuitive healing work for about 18 years now. And I'm humbled to say that whether I'm in a session with someone or on stage leading a retreat, whether virtually in person, looking forward to more in-person events as things open up for sure, there are very miraculous things that happen. And what's interesting about my work is it actually fulfills an intention I set when I was about 11 years old or so. When I was about 11, I looked at the sky and I said, I want to sit front row, and I want a front row seat to see the miracles of the universe reveal themselves for the benefit of others. I want to see the magic show of the universe, and I want to see the most incredible magic of source. And I want a front row seat for this. And I now live my life on stage, having a front row seat as the space through which healing energy comes through. And it is profound, it is provocative, it is life-changing, it is expansive, and it is riveting and humbling to be the space where this happens. As I walk away each time going, oh my God. And I have the same reaction as if the first time I did it, which for me is just how pure the work can be. And we decided to celebrate this book. Let's make a documentary and let's document and show me working with 4 people on camera. Let's show what I'm doing. Let us follow the journey of these people before and after, and let us create a documentary that isn't a documentary about the subject of healing, as much as it is a documentary that heals you through the journey you take with 4 beautifully brave souls that said, yes, I want to do work with you, Matt, and yes, we can do it on camera so that others can follow this journey and heal as they watch it. And woven into this documentary is me talking about the last 3 years of my life, which have been some of the most deepest, most challenging healing journeys I've gone through, to the point that it transformed my intention of my work to not just be an empathic healer, but to now, from this moment forward, be an empathic healer who is here to activate the inner healer in every single heart. My intention is to leave this planet one day with more healers than when I found it. And we created this documentary called Healed by Love, and it has become a force of nature and taken on a life of its own. And we offered it as a bonus when people buy the book, All for Love, The Transformative Power of Holding Space. And I believe when you go to my website, mattkahn.org, and when you click on the banner, or if you click on books and All for Love, I believe what it will show you is when you pre-order the book, you fill out a form, you put in your coupon code, and we send you a link to the movie for free, so that as a complement to the book, not a rehashing, but a complement, as you read this book and soak up the energy, You are then taking a human journey with 4 incredible people, including the journey that I went on, so that we can all experience in real time what it actually means to be healed by love. And it's my true honor to share this with the world and for everyone to watch and experience what I am so beyond proud to share.
Beautiful. Yes. So everybody, you can go to Matt Kahn, it's MATTKAHN.org, and get that book and the documentary as a free gift.
Yes.
That's beautiful. And I know just from watching the trailer, like, wow, it's moving and powerful. And yeah, I could feel it. So I'm looking forward to diving into that. And so, yeah, I mean, everything you say feels like it's in itself a whole world of possibility. And I would love to have hours upon hours to speak with you, but I want to make sure that we present your gift, and you also have an offer. Your gift is a 1-hour sample, I guess, recorded call from, and it just says here, from the program. Do you want to tell us about that?
To be honest, I wish I knew which one it was. But
how about this? From the program, plus a promo code for access to a free month of calls and emails. So
fantastic. So this hour call features me saying words, very important words, amazing words with energies. I'm speaking so generically. It's just so funny. I wish I knew the specifics of it, but what I will say is this, is that our offer that my team helped put together is really to take for those that are on this call that are feeling this energy, right? Because when I do a call like this, it's to introduce or deepen the relationship I have with people that are called to awaken or are on their journey of awakening. They feel this energy, and sometimes they say, what do I do with that? What do I walk away with? I don't have 3 steps, 5 steps. What do I do? And really, the energy that I'm radiating, that I'm embodying, that you feel, is an invitation into a more expanded level of consciousness. And if you feel this and go, this feels soothing, this feels like home, this feels right, then the offer my team put together is just a chance for you to take the next step into this more expanded dimension. And we offer teachings that are written and audio and video to make sure that we are connecting with every human being in a way that suits the way they learn the best, so that we can entrain with this vibration on all levels through all of our senses. And if we are really called to awaken, if we really want to help turn this planet in the direction we're already destined to turn it towards, if we want to experience relief, if we want to experience elation, expansion, maturity, and mastery, and not wait for a world to catch up, get things right, or wake up, if we're ready to step into a new reality now as pioneers of a new earth, then this deal is going to help you take the next step in your journey to say, wow, I feel this energy. This is what I'd like more of in my life. And this is going to be the next step in bringing it to you. And so here's what's so miraculous about it. I don't even know what the deal is. And yet everyone that's called to say yes to it will literally take it in and go, that's exactly what I needed to hear, because this is the perfection of the universe. So I will just say, the perfection of the universe is here. We are not meeting by accident. We are here by divine appointment. And if the love and consciousness I'm sharing with you is calling to you, then my invitation is to say, let's take it a step deeper, because the deeper we go, the more we wake up. And we all deserve that, especially now.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. And I do feel like everything you say, it's like it lands for me in a certain way. That's exactly what I need. And it's just like magic. Like you do that for people. And I'm sure everyone listening has their own way of perceiving it, but yet it's exactly what they need.
Yes.
Amazing. So you also have a paid offer. It's $97, and it's a package of 3 audio programs on healing anger, sadness, and fear.
Yes. Yes. I remember these are from previous events I've done. And these 3 events I did during tours when life was more open were just some of 3 of the most poignant, provocative, soul-stirring transmissions I did, because, people will hear me transmit and they're like, this feels great. But what about anger? What about sadness? What about fear, right? Because we get into a field of consciousness and everything feels perfect. Then we go back to our lives and we go, what about the unspoken elephant in the room? What about all the stuff in my closet I don't want anyone to see? So what I want is to bring this kind of consciousness, not as a bypass from our difficulties. We're not abandoning sadness, fear, and anger and saying, let's just hang out in a cloud of higher consciousness. We're bringing higher consciousness to our sadness, to our fear, to our anger, and not as a way of trying to tone it down, and not as a way of saying, oh, honey, there's a higher way you can look at this. What I'm transmitting and how I teach is very real. And we are not here to not be angry, sad, or fearful. We're here to transmute and change our relationship with anger, sadness, and fear so that they become allies versus enemies in our realities. The only reason why people act out of anger, sadness, and fear in a violent or destructive way is because of the relationships they don't have with those feelings. When we befriend sadness, anger, and fear, the allies they become and how they transform into aspects of our highest soul's attributes is breathtaking. But people say, how do I do that? So we wanted to put together this program to give people a transmission of energy that creates the shifts within their field and gives them teachings and practical ways to really change our relationship with these emotions. Because to think we're going to get rid of anger, sadness, and fear and hang out in the light, that's actually just spiritual division. We're bringing the higher vibrations into the lower realms of density so that the shadows can dissolve, the light can awaken. And it doesn't mean we won't be fearful, angry, or sad. It means we will have such a conscious relationship with these parts that they reveal deeper gifts, abilities, and attributes of our souls instead of barriers to connections within and around us.
Yes. Ooh, I know that having
I felt that too. Have mercy.
Having experienced some pretty high states and even, having gone to retreats or even gone on my own personal retreat away from everyone, sure. It's the coming back from those high highs or from those expanded states or those quiet spaces where you're not bothered with life and children and spouses and, pets and everything that happens in life. It seems to amplify the contrast sometimes of like coming back. It's like, everything that used to just be normal is now annoying me and it's making me mad. And I'm getting upset about things that, just because I just experienced such high highs. So I think this is so valuable to face head on. Okay, those things don't go away. They just they're even more there sometimes after an expanded experience. So to bring the higher consciousness and to, obviously we're not going to be able to bypass those things. We're not going to they're not going to just go away. Life keeps lifing, they like to say. So thank you for those tools to be able to navigate that anger, sadness, and fear.
You're welcome. I think the things that trigger us the most, and when we go into a higher state, and then there's the process I call coming down the mountain, where you come down the mountain from your retreat, come back to everyday life, and life is saying, here are the things that require your attention. And whether it's a spouse, a partner, a child, a pet, a dog only barks, sometimes when it's defending its territory, but typically a dog only barks when it either has a need or is in need of something or is in a state of fear or defense. And so human beings are the same way, that we learn through the evolution of consciousness that when someone is barking, and again, we only do it when we feel safe to do so and when it's safe in an environment, but what do you need, right? I see a barking dog, I might give it space, but at least I'm going to look at it as the puppy it may have forgotten it once was. And as people, we give our distance when we need to, but we connect with them as the children they may have forgotten they once were. That's how we see people as love, as we remember there is a hurt child inside other people. And when we feel like we are bombarded by people's energy, there's a hurt child inside of us that we've forgotten to perhaps reacquaint ourselves with. So I think that when we take the most loving path, we are going into higher states of expansion. but not to the ability that we forget our innocence or the innocence of others. And that's actually how we remain protected without having to imprison ourselves. That's how we stay open without having to turn away or shut down. And slowly but surely, through the transmissions I'm offering now and through these downloads that people have a chance to receive, I'm helping you strengthen your psychic muscles so you can hold your frequency instead of being pulled out of your field into someone else's trauma. And that is what we're learning to master in this school of Earth. And to offer these gifts and to offer these skills and to offer these pathways of mastery is truly my life's mission. And it is my heartfelt joy to invite every single person hearing this to explore this on a more intimate level.
Thank you so much. Thank you for all you do, for all you've shared. I feel like this conversation in itself is a consciousness expanding state.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I love it. I just appreciate you so much, Matt. Thank you for making the time to share with us today.
Thank you. It's an honor. And what was the name of that machine I'm about to go by?
The Yo Nana.
This call, this transmission of consciousness has been brought to you by Yo Nana.
Yeah, maybe we need to hit them up. They could be sponsors.
Wouldn't be wrong.
Anyway.
Wouldn't be wrong.
Yes. Thank you. And to everyone watching, we love you. Thank you so much for being here. I will have all of Matt's links in the show notes. Have a beautiful day or evening. Namaste. If you're looking for spiritual community on your ascension path, you have found it. The Alchemy of Ascension community membership is a brand new membership that I have launched to bring together spiritual seekers, people who are actively working their ascension path, their ascension journey. And I know that for me, when I was younger and deeply into my spiritual path, I felt really alone on my journey. I didn't have spiritual community. And part of my mission now is to bring together people from all walks of life, from all over the world, and create a platform where we get to share together and be together. I will be in there with you every month doing activations and sharing information. I am really setting it up as an interactive community experience. So it's not all about me, it's about you. You get to meet like-minded people, interact with each other. There will be plenty of opportunities in a forum where you can chat, where you're not on social media, so you're all in this protected container together. There will be a book club. There will be mastermind opportunities. There will be breakout groups where you just get to know each other, get connected, get related, and make new friends. This is the very thing that I always wished that I had when I was younger and just starting out on my path. It is my greatest service to be able to provide this for you at a really low cost that I think is very fair. And so founding members are going to get to enter at $33 a month. And that will provide everything that the membership has to offer and a wonderful, beautiful experience as a member of an ascension community. So if this is speaking to you, if this is something that you're interested in, find the link below and join me as a founding member. This is a limited time opportunity for founding members, and there will be a hard stop. We will close this opportunity at the end of the summit. So join us now and be part of this brand new community for all of us who are working on our ascension together. I appreciate you. I love you. Namaste.